Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live today on burnout and survival mode. If you're watching, give us a hello. The best place to watch is in YouTube. There should be a link from wherever it is that you are watching from. There should be a comment section there where we can see your live comments, ask your live questions. So tonight we've got a really fun conversation. I mean, I think high performing women are some of the most capable people on the planet, but also some of the most biologically stressed. So tonight, Heather Simonson and I want to explain exactly why so many intelligent, successful women, why they feel wired, exhausted, stuck in survival mode, even when their life looks successful on the outside, and then there's different stuff happening on the inside. And I find that most successful women, they actually believe that the solution is to try harder, to push more. And tonight we're going to talk about why trying harder and pushing more doesn't work. Are you ready to jump in, Heather?
Yes, Danielle, I'm so excited to be working with you and to get to meet some of our guests tonight. And I can't wait for April.
I know. Well, welcome, Joanne. And for those of you guys who don't know, so Heather Simonson is a licensed clinical social worker. She is the founder of Sea Change Wellness Center in Lindenhurst in New York. And we have an amazing retreat coming up. It's called the Whole Body Awakening, coming up in April, where we're actually going to be diving into some of these things. But let's jump into some stuff tonight, because I think, I see this epidemic with my clients, and Heather, I know that you work with a lot of women, and the counseling perspective, and that you're seeing the same stuff. And that's why we're like, oh my gosh, we gotta bring some control here and help people step into their body and step into their real power. So if you have questions, you guys type them in. We love your interaction and your feedback as we go on. I think that that's really important. So where do we start, Heather? I think we need to start by getting people out of their heads and into their body, into their sensations, like immediately. What do you think? should we get people grounded in this moment?
I think so. I think that as far as what I hear from most people is that they are too much in their heads, and embodiment is for sure the thing that we need to be moving more closer to.
Yeah. All right, you guys. So just briefly, because I know you're probably all doing different things and you're here, let's get you really nice and present. So let's just have everyone, drop their shoulders. Feels good to release, right? I know I've been nonstop all day. Anybody else nonstop all day? Yeah, let's just let that go. And go ahead and take a real deep breath. Get grounded in the moment and just get present. How does your body actually feel right now? Yeah. Is it tight? Is it buzzing? Is it tired? Is it heavy? Most high-performing women that we work with, they don't even pause enough to ask the question, right, about what's happening in my body. So, and I think right there is where that problem begins. So go ahead and take one more deep breath. And let's dive into the conversation. For how many of you was that really good? How many of you are like, oh my gosh, I need to take more deep breaths, get more present, get more grounded? Put it in the comments section. Just say me. Just say me if that's you, if that empowers you to be more present. You can feel.
And I think it just goes to show too that sometimes it only takes 30 seconds just to get grounded. And that's what I think a lot of people get caught up in, is that
Yes.
have to get to a class. It takes so long, but it doesn't need to.
That's exactly it, right? We a lot of times when we have high performers, they are like they're always on the go, and it's like I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time. I mean, okay, you might not have time to do an hour-long meditation, but if we don't actually stop, we stay stuck in that space of burnout, and the longer we stay stuck in that space of burnout, we end up with all the physiological consequences of that, and the consequences of it when it comes to our mental health. And I find, I mean, Heather, you can chime in here, but I find that high achieving women, they're often rewarded societally for ignoring their bodies, right? For pushing through, for doing more, right? They override their hunger, they ignore their stress signals, they just keep going, and
They put
society's like,
everyone else before themselves.
yes, yes, yeah. And society's like, oh, good job, right? Like you're a hard worker. And what do you tell your clients who come in, Heather, and they're in that space? Like you can see, like, okay, they haven't taken any time for themselves. And Joanne's like, yeah, that's me.
Me. Hmm.
How do you help navigate that for them?
I think truly by just talking about what we're talking about and pointing out the fact that it doesn't need to take a very long time. And
Right.
honestly, men, women, across the board, that's one of the most common things that I hear is that I don't have the time. And so one of the things that I consistently am working on with people, aside from hoping that they'll watch a YouTube or listen to an app or get to a class or do something intentional like that, what I try to do is give people some exercises and tools that they really can incorporate into their day. Something I talk about all the time is doing sensate focus while we're driving. So that doesn't
Right.
mean that we're driving with our eyes closed, obviously, but what does that really mean is getting in the moment, getting in the present, getting in the here and the now. And that doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
we have to be in this beautiful Zenful retreat center or a yoga studio, or it literally can be while we're driving. Roll down the windows. Yes, if you take a deep breath, you're going to notice the car fumes. Is that like a beautiful Zen essential oil? No, but it helps to get you in the present. What can you do while you're on conference calls? What can you do while you're sitting at your desk working on a deadline? Like there are so many things that we can do to incorporate it into our day where we don't need to necessarily always carve out extensive periods of time.
Yeah. I mean, Carissa and I, we always say, just rub your fingers together, right? Just start to pay attention to the
Oh, I
sensation
like that
of
one.
rubbing your fingers together. Because what happens is when our minds are always going, like our body sees it as danger, right? And the longer we stay in that space where our minds are going, it's like your body says, uh-oh, there's danger. And it biologically knows what to do to have you survive, right? That's what's it's
Sympathetic and
innate.
parasympathetic nervous system.
Exactly, exactly. And so your brain believes that the pressure that you're having, whether you're running your kids around or you're trying to meet deadlines at work or you've got too many things on your plate or you're taking care of a loved one, they see that pressure as a threat or that constant demand. And you're right, Heather, it brings them right into that sympathetic dominance. Or you guys, it brings you right into fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Anybody in fight or flight, like that you hang out in fight or flight, to put me in the comment section there. And we all do it. We all do it. I notice, for me, I'll start to feel like this tenseness and tightness. And I'm like, okay, Danielle, what is going on? Right? Like take a deep breath, relax. And I kind of have to coach myself after I catch myself, right? Catch yourself and then coach yourself. Coach myself
I
through
like that.
it so that it changes. I just made that up, but it was good, right?
I
CC.
like it. Catch yourself so you can coach yourself. I think you need to coin that.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys, what happens is, so from a biological standpoint, right? When our body perceives that threat, uh, you know, there's several things that happen. I highly encourage you also go take a look at my podcast that dropped today, because we talked a lot about this in the podcast that dropped today. You can find that in YouTube. But when you're in fight or flight, right, your cortisol is going to skyrocket, your digestion is going to slow down, your sleep is going to stink, your hormones are going to become a mess. So if you're in that menopausal phase, you may find that you start having hot flashes or mood swings, all of that fun stuff. And then what happens is your energy becomes unstable. So now you're like tired, but you're wired, And if we keep staying in that position over and over and over again, it's literally like our body forgets to turn off. I don't know if you use this example, Heather, but I always use the example. It's kind of like you put on a pair of sunglasses in the morning and you're out all day and you're walking around with the sunglasses. And when you get home, it's like you forget that those sunglasses are on. And like the world just looks normal. And then when you take them off, you're like, oh my gosh, everything is changed. Everything is different. And that's what I see happening so much.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one thing that's important to remember is that even though so much of the work that you and I both do and what we're part of our intention with this retreat is to bring people back into their bodies and get out of fight or flight, is that it's also human, right?
Yeah.
Right, we just need to, I feel like I'm always reinforcing that. Like so much of it is like, this is a normal reaction to normal things that happen in everyday life. And so I think that also giving ourselves a little grace and compassion around that, that this happens, not because there's something wrong with us, but because we're perfectly normal. And that this is how our bodies, it's literally part of our system, right? Our human system.
Yes.
And that it's a normal way to react, is there for a reason. And that really the way to be able to, I guess, what's the word? To intersect into that reactivity is through some of the things we'll be doing, right? Through mindfulness, through breath work, through slowing down, through exactly what you just did, because that's what makes that pause, that breath is what makes the difference between reactivity and being able to be responsive to things.
Oh yes, absolutely. We just, we get stuck, right? We don't even realize that our nervous system is in this state of dysregulation because it's kind of like the norm,
Right.
and it does take a little bit of like, oh my goodness. And the world is set up that way today, unfortunately. I mean, all you have to do is like spend any time on social media, and I promise you are in that crazy state. So get off of social media, get off the news, right? Because all of that stuff there is part of the trap that keeps us stuck in this cycle of stress. I had this conversation with a client yesterday. I'm like, just turn it all off. Just turn it all off. Yep. The world is going bonkers, but in our little microcosm, there's not much that we can do about that, right? And so if we're always stressed out about what's going to happen in the world, we're literally, kind of chewing ourselves away, right? We're reducing our body's resilience so that if something were to happen, heaven forbid, cancel, clear, delete, right? We don't have the energy, the focus, the stamina to get through. So turn it off. It's so not worth it. And I know just the little scroll itself, it lights up those pleasure centers, and we become addicted to the light up of those pleasure centers because we're in this nervous system dysregulated state so often, so it's like, it's a trap, it's one of the traps. There's a lot of traps. I think for high functioning women, the whole productivity culture, right? Like most high functioning women, they're like trained to be in survival mode, right? Because our culture rewards it. Like I used to say all the time, it's better to be busy than bored, right? But that's actually so not true. And I had to like step into like, okay, Danielle, yeah, okay, there's this busyness, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you going to be able to sustain? How are you going to be able to think clearly? How are you going to be able to, to serve your purpose and mission in life? How are you going to be able to do things? And Heather, I think you probably see what all of that sort of turns into in terms of anxiety and depression. Maybe you want to touch on that.
I mean, it certainly does. I think it tends when we're so trapped in those cycles consistently and don't have the tools to be able to get out of that stress response system and that dysregulation, we oftentimes kind of turn on ourselves, right? Like we betray our body's signals, we betray the self-care that we often do. And a lot of times the anxiety and or the depression kind of takes over. So people tend to go to numb themselves out or self-medicate or do all sorts of different things to to kind of wallow in it a lot of times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of the same thing, because I'm human just like the rest of us.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it winds up being a trap. And, being in the mental health field, and we so oftentimes will go to quick fixes because what we're talking about takes a lot of intentionality. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of work. It
Yes.
takes a lot of learning, right? Like learning about what it is that we can do to get ourselves out of that stress response system,
Yeah.
to turn our anxiety or depression around. Because there are so many tools, there are so many paths forward. Um, and that, but it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of intention. And
Yes.
so oftentimes, and again, I've been there myself, instead of choosing those things, that path to reconnection, we oftentimes wind up getting into these patterns of behaviors that really betray ourselves, right? That sabotage ourselves. I know I've been there plenty of times before, particularly with nutrition, diet. You've changed my life immensely in a lot of that. But even still, it's very hard to switch out of that until it becomes really ingrained and practiced.
I know. Well, I know one of the reasons that you and I put together the whole Body Awakening weekend is so that we can take people out of their regular environment and bring them into a space where they can really get present with themselves and their bodies. Because the truth is, when we're used to being in this state of dysregulation, right? Your nervous system becomes conditioned to it. So it's like cortisol becomes the fuel source that you actually start to run on. Anybody notice why did I just pick a fight with that person? Why do that? Or why am I always late? Why do I always wait for the last minute when I know that's going to stress me out? And part of that is we become cortisol junkies. And so that wired feeling, that urgency, it's like your body begins to depend on it because it becomes so comfortable with it. So that means that when we actually slow down, when we do those things, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think that being in that discomfort, we need to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And there's a process of even learning all of these things. It's I don't know if you remember the Landmark Education Forum that we spent a lot of time doing, and they talked about that unconscious competence, switching, right? Or sorry, unconscious incompetence, switching to a place of becoming conscious of where we might be incompetent in terms of skill and mood and behavior. And then eventually we have to find a place where we can get to, people say to me all the time in counseling, I just heard it twice already this week.
Oh.
It's going to feel so inauthentic if I'm practicing these things with them in terms of communication, right? Well, there has to become a time where we have to be conscious of this competence, where we're putting in that effort. It's very mindful, it's very intentional, but eventually, right? How long do they say it takes to change a habit? You probably know about it. Was 21
Well,
days. I don't know, but
21
3 months.
days, but
I don't know what it is.
the science is a little, it's a little off on it.
Well,
But
yeah, I've heard different things. So I'm like,
there you
what is
go.
it really? I don't even know. But I've heard like the 21 day, right? Like eventually it becomes this unconscious competence where you don't need to really think about it anymore. But getting to that place, you need so much support and so many tools.
Yes.
And that's why even creating a community around, this weekend and in the people that we work with, that you work with, is so important because that support is like everything.
Yes. Yeah, it's having the support, the accountability, also the space to be able to like have these conversations and start to notice these things, right? Because this is where something I think something painful happens, right? Many women, when they're stuck in this sort of fight or flight all the time, they start betraying their own body, right? They stop listening to the signals. Instead of like being tired and recognizing that and stopping, they push through. Instead of recognizing that they have some emotional needs or setting up boundaries. I think that's part, a lot of people talk about boundaries being really uncomfortable, right? But instead of setting up those boundaries, they're just like, oh, my kids need it, my spouse needs it, my boss needs it, or whatever, and they override those. Or we see a lot of emotional eating in our practice at South Bay Wellness, and not resting, not sleeping, not taking time off. But all of these things make the body's signals get quieter, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we've got to actually stop and pay attention if we're going to start to hear our body speak. And I always say, your body is always talking to you. It's
It's true.
just, are you paying
You're
attention?
listening.
Do you hear it? You know, or people will fall into that victim loop. Do you want to talk about that?
A victim loop, as far as, I think that we wind up, I think that's such a deep topic, falling into that could go so many different directions. I think that people tend to
It's kind of
create.
like,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that when we fall into that victim loop, I think that we wind up looking even subconsciously for attention or connection, because as a victim you tend to get that attention, and it's
Yes.
like not getting positive attention, it's getting negative attention. um,
Yes.
and so I that's something that I see a lot in practice, is that when we fall into that loop, that it keeps us stuck, and
Yes.
it keeps us looking for this type of connection, but it's not connecting really truly with ourselves. It's looking
Yeah.
to be able to get connection or attention from outside sources. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly that that's what you meant by that, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, it's that trap of like, oh, I'm overwhelmed all the time, right? Or this is just how life is, like as if we have like no control over it, right? And so because we don't realize we're kind of in this victim loop, we stay there. I mean, I can't wait at the Whole Body Awakening weekend where we're really going to go into that betrayal and stuff that we have with ourselves and really begin to touch on that in a very gentle way, because it's not a weakness. It's a nervous system pattern. And so we want to address the nervous system pattern, because if we don't address it, if we stay stuck, we end up in a worse place than we were before, right? So think about it. I mean, those of you who are watching, think about where where your nervous system is likely in this dysregulated space. Maybe some things have hit you. You can put a comment into the comment section if something sort of rang true for you. But what's the cost of actually staying there? Like, if nothing changes, if you continue on this pattern of dysregulation, where does that path go? Do you end up with like more fatigue, more stress, more hormonal chaos, more anxiety, more depression, more, beating yourself up, more, arguments with other people, more feelings of hopelessness or helplessness. You know, the cost can, I find, and Heather, you can chime in here, I find the cost is really deep, because most people, when they're stuck in this pattern and they can't see a way out, it's like they stop feeling fully alive in their own life. Right? It's like your body becomes a machine rather than home. Your life becomes like just this repeat. You're just doing, but you're not even present in life itself. There's no joy, there's no passion. Go ahead, I'll let you comment on that.
No, I mean, and you're just to pick up there in terms of joy and passion. I mean, everything that you're saying, it reminds me of the book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? Like,
Yes.
so not only like do we get stuck in this victim loop, but especially for women, a lot of women have a lot of, we hold a lot of pain and hurt, particularly even about our sexuality. And when I say sexuality, I don't even mean sex, meaning like our femininity, our masculinity, right?
Yes.
Like the yin yang power, like we have both of those things.
Yes.
And so much about our self-worth and our self-esteem, and then and about sexual health also, that we wind up holding it on a cellular level. And we oftentimes even do that in that area of the body. And so when all of that happens, if we're not doing intentional things to heal those pain, that hurt, that past trauma, then it gets stuck. And so when it's stuck in the body on a cellular level, we're going to also feel stuck in our lives.
Yes.
We're also going to play those narratives out in our life of that victim mindset. So I think a lot of that oftentimes, and who doesn't have past hurt and pain? Most or many people, I don't even want to say most, but I think many people have trauma, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't metabolize that, if we don't process it, if we don't deal with it in a healthy way, we're going to get stuck in it physically, and then in turn emotionally and mentally, which only is going to reinforce this. You're stuck in fight or flight, and you're stuck in this victim mindset because your body is holding on to all this pain. And I know that a lot of the movement and the exercises that we'll be doing in the retreat are going to be able to help to release that on a physical level as well.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. Some of this feels really heavy. Let me just clarify, right? We can actually move through these things with fun, with joy, right? Because the thing is, your body, it remembers how to regulate it. Your body, can remember how to feel safe again. It remembers how to, I use the word coherence a lot in my practice. It can remember how to come back into coherence, right? And that kind of stuff doesn't happen by thinking harder, right? It doesn't work. It actually happens by coming back into your body, right? By coming back home to yourself.
And as far as safety and security goes, some of the things that we will be talking about also is as far as like the energy system, right? The human energy energy system, and the energy centers, the chakras, if you've ever heard of that before. And like our root chakra has all to do with our sense of safety and security. And so I think being able to come back into that place of learning again, it's not up here, it's down below, really. Right? It's at the bottom of our bodies and our energy system. And so learning very specific ways to be able to get grounded, to create our own safety and security, even when we're feeling out of place and dysregulated. And I think that those are some, like, we don't learn that in school. No, well, where do we learn that?
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing, right? It'd be amazing if we learned.
We're working on it, right? Like we're bringing more yoga and mindfulness and all of that into schools, and that's been a really beautiful, I think, development in our world over the past, I don't know, I'd say probably 5 or 10 years.
Yes.
Mindfulness is like a big buzzword now, like kind of like SEL, social emotional learning. So I think we're getting there slowly. And one of, I think, the most impactful things, and I don't know how many people who are here who are parents, but Danielle and I both are. Hope that's okay that I shared that, Danielle.
I
Um,
think most people know I'm a parent.
I figured, I know you're an open book. And so, but I think us being able to model that for our kids is one way that they are going to learn it. That's how we're going to
Yeah.
pass that down to them, because it's not really being taught in school or anywhere else. So where else are we going to learn it?
Yeah. The other thing that brings up for me as you speak about that is I don't know the exact word, but there's actually like this experiment that they've done with like a pendulum, right? And they put like a whole bunch of pendulums in the room and they start them all at different times. Okay. And so they're all moving in chaos. But within a matter of time, eventually all those pendulums begin to move together and in sync. So if we think about kind of where we are, if we're always in a dysregulated state with our nervous system, right, that kind of spreads outside of us. It spreads to our family. It spreads to our community. It spreads to the world, look at where we are. But if we can just take the time to get present, to take care of ourselves, to shift out of that survival mode, things change, not just for us, but for those that are also around us and connected to us, right? It's that whole pendulum effect. So I like to make sure everyone's got some concrete things tonight, right? I want to talk about shifting out of survival mode, you guys. And I know a lot of people, like, they're like, okay, I need some help and support with this. Join us for the whole body awakening weekend in April. It's April 17th through the 19th. It's in Lindenhurst at Heather's place at Sea Change Wellness. And it's going to be phenomenal. I put the link in the comment section, and we decided that we're going to give you guys a special gift for being here and being live, and throw us some comments as well. Let the social media, YouTube powers that be, get real happy that you've commented for us. So if you could do that, we appreciate it. Like the page, etc. But we put a code in there for you, live 10 will get you 10% off your seat. And seats are limited. This is a very powerful small group experience. But let's talk about how to shift out of survival mode. I think 3 things need to happen. Number 1, your nervous system needs to feel safe again. Okay. And then your body needs to reconnect with the internal signals. You've got to be able to hear yourself. That's what we've been talking about. And number 3, your mind's got to start to release, if you're that high performer, it's got to start to release that performance-based identity. Like, oh, you've got to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. We have to get comfortable with knowing that it's okay to step back, to relax, to regulate. What would you like to add, Miss Heather? Because this is the work that we're going to do that weekend. I think this is the work that Heather and I do in our respective practices as well.
No, I think you said it perfectly. I think that being able to get grounded to, like, at any given time, anywhere you are, right? And that could just be like simply wiggling your toes, or just kind of tapping your feet on the floor, or taking a gentle fist and kind of, I'm doing it right now, right? Like kind of bringing it down your legs, back up your legs. Like those kinds of things can help you get more in your body, can get you more in the present. And it's something that's so simple, and it's actually easy. It really is pretty easy to do that. And it's a tool that you can take with you anytime, anywhere you go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really powerful. So go ahead, drop in the comments what is something that you're taking away from listening today, or what have you noticed about your own nervous system and what's happening in your nervous system? Go ahead and drop that in the comments. If you're watching on a different channel like YouTube, like Facebook or Instagram, we only see your YouTube comments. So best if you're in there in YouTube and comment. But if you're in the other channels, we'll see it and we'll touch base with you. And I'll make sure too, if you're watching in another channel, that we put the link in there for the retreat. But for us, what we've created with the Whole Body Awakening is really the space to be able to step into connection with your body, to step into regulation, to step out of burnout, to begin to, like Heather said before, like practice. It's not about a lecture. It's certainly not about more information, right? It's certainly not about pushing harder, but it's really an immersive experience where your nervous system actually gets the chance to reset, to relax, right? We're going to have guided body awareness, nervous system regulation, somatic exercises, gentle yoga, as well as meditation. The goal is to have you get back in touch with yourself and your body, because it's really about remembering what it feels like to actually live inside your body again, not up here. Like Heather said before, the power, it's actually down here. It's not up here. And I got to stop myself all the time because I'm so in my head, right? Like that's just my
Same.
brain. It's like analysis central, everything I'm analyzing, questioning, like all of it. And I've got to stop myself sometimes, right? Like I personally have to find time to meditate, because otherwise my brain, if I don't do that for a while, it just goes. Anybody relate to that, right? My brain goes, if you can relate to that too. So what else would you like to say, Miss Heather, before we start to wrap up here?
I just want to be able to say that I hope that um, I do really hope that some of you will join us in April, and that it is going to be a very immersive and experiential weekend. That this is not, I think you're going to learn so much. Danielle is so brilliant and is just a wealth of knowledge
You
all
too,
of the
girlfriend.
time. Thank
You
you.
too.
And, I think I added something a little bit different for sure. And, that a big piece of this, like Danielle said, it's meditation is one thing, right? And I'm a firm believer in the power of that, but that's also like being up here, even though you're trying to clear the mind. And
Yeah.
so working things from the bottom up and working on that root chakra, getting grounded, finding what makes you feel safe and secure, and then creating a space amongst us all that we can always come back to. Because I know Danielle is always really great about keeping in touch with people and creating like communities online to be able to really stay connected. And I know that I'm sure that will be something that we do. I just think that working it from the bottom up is going to make a really big difference. And I think incorporating things around, being able to join together all of the knowledge that Danielle and I have, which is so vastly different, is going to be a really great marriage for people to be able to take with them and moving forward. And I think you'll be able to walk away having tangible skills and tools that you can immediately incorporate into your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how many of you who are watching have been to our retreats before. So I do lead regular retreats, and Heather has participated in those and helped us with those retreats. And the space is magical. I invite you to go to the page. You can hear some from some of our clients who have participated. And let's see, Earl's Music Musings. Thank you all.
Adele,
Wait,
come. I'll put you up. Just come. You get 10% off. Please, just come. You're from New York anyway. Come on, girl.
well, you can definitely reach out to us, Adele. You said it was Adele. Adele is that
Adele.
person's name. And you know what I'll do later too, Adele? We do have, so at South Bay Wellness, we do have a 21-day nervous system challenge that's running, which is a great place to start. But, sometimes we want to take a look at like, what is it that's standing in your way? Because we have people who are coming to a retreat who don't live in New York, right? They live outside of New York, and they're staying in a hotel for the weekend, which is actually, I'll be very honest with you, can be a fabulous thing because you're fully taking yourself out of the environment that is already where you're running these same programs over and over and over again. And sometimes we need to step outside of that environment to actually be able to recreate something else, right? We've got to create those new neural pathways in order to be able to have lasting, habit behavior changes. And that's very powerful. So I still encourage you, Adele, but I'll drop the other link in there for you later. Or if you just go to our, if you go to our social media channels, Dr. Z, True Wellness, or South Bay Wellness, you'll find that there. But anything else, Heather, you want to say before I leave them with one question for the evening?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So tonight, everyone, I want you to sit with one question, a very powerful question. And that is this: are you living in your body? Are you managing your life from survival mode? Yeah. If your body's been asking for something different, then this is the moment to hear it. And this is the moment to really begin to listen. So, with that, everyone, registration for the Whole Body Awakening Weekend is open. The website is go.drd.com/whole body awakening, but it is in YouTube. The link is in there. If you're watching us on a different channel, I'll make sure that we put the link in there as well. And the code for you for being here tonight is live 10. So it's LIVE 10, and that gives you 10% off your registration. That does not last forever, you guys. Again, we are creating a very small, intimate gathering for people, and it's important to make sure that we're getting the right people in the room. So if you know someone whose nervous system desperately needs a reset, or if that's you, share this with yourself, share this with others that you know. So the most powerful thing a woman can do in a world that rewards this burnout is really learning how to come home to her body, how to reset that nervous system, because everything else flows from there. So I thank everybody for joining us tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all in Lindenhurst in April. Super excited about that. Any closing remarks, Lev?
I think you said it perfectly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you and having you back in this snowy weather, because it
Well,
was.
hopefully there'll be no more snow.
Yeah, well, it's snowing right now. So
Oh,
so for those of you who are down south, yep, we have more snow, but I'm sure it will not be snowing in April. So I am really looking forward to doing this with you and to seeing all of the amazing changes that I think that we'll go through and get to witness other people. So thank you so much for your brilliance and your time and your dedication to doing all of this. And for everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you for taking time out of your really busy schedules. We're both available for questions or anything else that you need. So thank you for showing up for yourselves.
yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see